right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Here's a tweet from Rob Rossi, our GMC tweet of the night. As this moment, Sidney Crosby is on pace for 51 goals in his 19th NHL season. The world, that would match his career high from his 5th NHL season. Ludicrous. Definitely agree with Rob Rossi there. It's incredible the way Sidney Crosby is playing right now. I mean, the guy looks like he's in the middle of his prime and is definitely one of the top players in the NHL still at his age, in his upper 30s. You know, Chris, I was looking at the standings for the NFL and where the Steelers are right now. They got to jump a lot of teams. They're losing to the Colts that really screwed over tiebreaker situations for the Steelers. But, you have to root for the Browns, I think, this week. You have to root for the Browns to beat the Texans. You got to root for the Chargers to beat the Bills. And you have to root for the Falcons to beat the Colts. I think if you're a Steelers fan and you want to see your team have a shot to get in the playoffs, those are the 3 teams you need to root for.
I think the Browns are probably going to win. I think the Chargers are probably going to lose by 3 to 4 touchdowns. And I think the Falcons couldn't, punch their way out of a wet paper bag right now, let alone beat a Colts team that just put 30 consecutive points on the Steelers to end the game. I understand that the nature of what we do is that we never say never, never. I think Mike Tomlin did that this offseason or 2 seasons ago or whatever the heck it was, but they're not going to make the playoffs. It's just, it's not going to happen. And you know why I think it's not going to happen? They're not even going to win this weekend, most likely. This is just not a good football team. Chris Sims said it on the PFT podcast with Mike Florio. He said, this is the time of year where I want to see the 7 best teams in each conference play. The Steelers are not one of them. They're not even close, really. I think this is a team much closer to the bottom 2 or 3 in the AFC than the top 7.
Ed, Turtle Creek, what's up, Ed?
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good, thanks for calling.
Oh, of course. You guys are putting your finger on it. Now, you look at Baltimore. They're playing San Francisco, Miami, and us. Okay?
Yeah.
Cincinnati. They don't have a really good schedule either. And then you've got Cleveland and us are about even.
No, they're not.
So,
they're 2 games ahead of the Steelers.
Okay, listen to me. Cleveland, if they only win 1 game, et cetera, Baltimore doesn't win anymore, and Cincinnati we beat, et cetera, that gives us, it's going to be crazy, but could the division end up 10-7?
And the
No,
Steelers
they literally mathematically cannot win the division. Baltimore is already clinched, at least keeping the Steelers from winning the division. They can't do it. Baltimore can only go 11-6. The Steelers could only go 10-7. No, 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 no.
And I agree with you. I don't think the Steelers win this week against the Bengals, but they need to keep their hopes alive, and they need these other things to happen, like the Browns beating the Texans, Falcons beating the Colts, and the Chargers beating the Bills. Those things need to happen to keep the door ajar right now. It's very slim. It's like a 4% chance.
My mind's not even in that mode, Richie. My mind's not even in keep the door ajar mode. It just isn't even close. I got to be honest.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for the Steelers, and we called it. We talked about this last week. The Steelers, it's a typical Steelers end of the season where they lose these 2 games, but win the next 2, and it kind of puts a Band-Aid on what is essentially wrong with this team. And they don't fix everything in the offseason because they have high hopes of Kenny Pickett won the last 2 games. The team fought hard. They're going to get Minkah Fitzpatrick back, DeMonte Casey. They're going to add another cornerback, and they're going to shore up that defensive line, and they're going to add a talented wide receiver in the draft. And all of a sudden, they're a Super Bowl team.
No, it's not going to happen. You've put that theory out there. They're not going to win their last 2 games after losing this one. They're not going to go 9-8. I'll be shocked if they do. I think they're going to lose out and go 7-10. I think they are going to look at what the situation is here and potentially make seismic changes, but at the very least, significant ones across the coaching staff and to the roster. There needs to be some upheaval here. There has been way too much stability for stability's sake for way too long, and they are now reaping the after effects, the aftershocks of just sitting on their hands for so long.
All right, let's go out to Arm in Brooklyn. How you doing? Brookline. Let's go out to Arm. Arm?
Yeah, good evening, Rich.
Thanks.
Good evening, Chris. You basically hit the nail on the head. George Pickens, he should not dress for the game Sunday. Steelers are not going to go anywhere. They're not going to make the playoffs. You got to show the team that you're not going to put up with that kind of behavior. Kyle didn't put up with it. No didn't put up with it.
Well, they kind of did, Arm. You know, and look, I agree with you to a certain point, but they're in the winning business, right? They got to win games. And right now, you need to win to have any hope. And he's maybe your best offensive weapon.
It's a horrible look, though, for the rest of the team. I don't think the team likes the way Mike Tomlin's handling this. I don't think the team as a whole, the rest of that roster, would say it publicly, but I think most of them are quietly seething at George Pickens. I think most of them are pretty ticked off, and rightfully so. Jaylen Warren didn't do a good job of hiding the fact that he would have done it differently if the situation was reversed. I think Mike Tomlin botched this. He had a chance to send a strong message here to a guy that doesn't seem to listen to any other messages that are sent to him, and he didn't. He punted on it. He said, we love his talent, we need his talent, whatever. That's just further enabling a guy who's been coddled and enabled for the majority of his teenage and adult life. I think it's just a bad move by Mike Tomlin, and I would not be surprised in the slightest. In fact, I feel like it's almost a likelihood that George Pickens humiliates his head coach again by loafing and dogging it if things don't go his way on Saturday.
Yeah, I could see you being right on that one. And I hate to make an analogy out of this, but, neither one of us are professionals at golf or any kind of sport right now, but we both play golf. And, I'm wondering if this team just gave up or is starting on the verge of giving up. It reminds me of like, hey, I'm on the 13th hole. I'm getting pounded by my opponent, an opponent that I should win or should beat, and I can't get him out of the game. And then you're just like going through the motions. You felt defeated already on the 13th hole. And I feel like that's where the Steelers are right now. They already feel defeated.
I mean, they've lost 3 games in a row in various, emasculating, humiliating, embarrassing fashions, and they've looked non-competitive for large swaths of all 3 of those games, never more so than the last 3 quarters of the Colts game where, they did roll over and show their belly kind of to Indianapolis. So I'm not going to say that they quit per se. I think there's some pride on the defensive side of the ball. I think there are guys who are still playing hard, but it's a bad look when some of your most high-profile players are making business decisions out there. There's just no other way to put it, no nice way to put it.
You made a good point here earlier when you were talking about, you want to see the best teams in the postseason. And so do I. The Bills should get in because they have a shot to go further than the Steelers. The Texans have a shot to go further than the Steelers. You want to see teams that can win. And I don't think the Steelers are at that point. You can't win. You can't be successful in the postseason if you only average, 15 points a game.
If you put the Steelers in a tournament right now that was like the 7 worst records in the league and then them as the 8th team, I do not think they would come close to winning it. That's how bad I think they are right now. Like if you put them in a tournament with the Cardinals, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Panthers, the Giants, and the Titans, let's say, I do not think the Steelers, maybe the Bears as another one if I need to get to 8, and then the Steelers were in there, I don't think the Steelers would win. That's how bad I think they are right now.
Now, I don't disagree with you because I think, they were doing it with smoke and mirrors a little bit earlier in the year, and the record is what the record is. And they might be even a little bit, their record might be a little bit better than they are, but it kind of evened things out. They should not have won that Baltimore game, the Cleveland game, and maybe you could point to another game early on. And, maybe they shouldn't have lost to the Patriots or the Cardinals or something like that. So I think they are where they should be right now.
Sure. I think they're much closer though to being a legitimate 5-9 or 4-10 team than they are like 9-5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So and that's the kind of record you have.
If they're smack dab in the middle, they're much closer to being worse than their record says they are than better. Let's put it that way.